Now, the situation comes from obviously some death energy, and look at that. Underneath that is the devil, another major arcana card. Golly. This is a huge week for y'all, especially when it comes to releasing some things that have been keeping up space. That's been keeping you from being able to perspire to do something new. But I don't think this is necessarily just releasing. There's a new door coming in. There's a new world out there. And there is also a new beginning, a new life that's ready to perspire, as you see with the sun rising as death rolls through town. He's taking with him what he can before the sun rises, so that way there is a new world out there to plant, to grow, to refertilize, to give back, to what have you, right? To whatever you could see. You know what I mean? And this is awesome. Whatever was bounding you in the past here, which just could be some old habits and, you know, issues or situations where there's, you know, within relationships that may have, you know, haven't been very beneficial. This is taking it with it. But it has to be, it's going to need your, you know, involvement with this, because death can't just, you know, can't just take anybody. He has to take willing participants in a way. And he'll stay as long as he needs, death will stay as long as it needs to in order to get that very thing that is no longer necessary, is no longer needed in the world. Now, there are perspectives that we do gain from situations and lessons that we learn from our experiences that can benefit us forward. But there's some things that are attached to those lessons that don't necessarily benefit us, that keep us back. And the Devil card is telling us this as we speak at this moment. What is keeping us? Our willingness to continue a certain pattern that may not show the beneficial, you know, beneficial to our existence, you know, because the devil's taboo. There could be fun and wonderful things to do, or things that soothe us or help us escape. But does that really actually get us to our goal? Probably not. And there may be things here that, you know, regarding a relationship here that, you know, some things that may feel like you can't do anything or you feel trapped in. This is taking it with it, but you have to comply. You have to surrender, and you have to release that thing so that way you can move forward. Not forgive and forget. This is not what that means. It is saying to remember, but forgive. The pain, the resentment, the emotional portions of things, or something that's keeping you and holding you back from being able to give anew. And death will stay as long as it needs. That's why death can usually take a long time, because change is difficult. Change is hard. And even if the sun does rise, death will be like, whenever you're ready. And we are never ready, because death comes strolling into town. People are devastated, as you see in the card. People are just shocked by it, because death is not anticipated. Death is not, well, death can be anticipated, because you could tell someone may be dying through illness, right? But this is not about physical death. This is talking about, like, you know, nobody's ready to give up certain things. Nobody's ready to leave something behind, even if it's for good reason why they are holding on to those very things. But it doesn't make it right for them to stay. It doesn't make it right for no growth to happen or to come of it at all. It plagues things. So this is the situation that we're working with now. We're working on change and transition and moving forward and leaving behind the crops that are spoiled and gone. Not holding on and wishing for things to just be the way, you know, be better, and really start taking action on those things. And how do we do that? By forgiveness and giving ourselves compassion first. We have to give compassion where we can for ourselves. And forgiveness is never to necessarily forgive the other person. Because, you know, that is, why should you have hatred in your heart for any way to even hold resentment for someone? But really the forgiveness is about forgiving the situation for occurring the way it did to cause you such great pain. But in a way, you know, to wish yourself well from here on, you know. We are human beings. We live in a world where error is our middle name, but that doesn't make it. It doesn't mean that everything we do is meant to fail. It doesn't mean that everything we do is a failure or doesn't see in our eyes or through our eyes. It doesn't mean it doesn't succeed. It just means that there are some things that we need to prepare for. That these errors, that these mistakes or these failures or whatever we like to call these things that really aren't what they are, ways to move forward, and we attach, disappointment, hatred, sadness, and all those things to that, which can keep us from really being able to strive for what it is that we want. Even after all the soul searching that you guys have been doing, I feel like now it has become a crutch. You guys have been staying on your own, keeping to yourself, not opening up. You guys, as a matter of fact, have retracted and pulled away from the world. But I feel like it's because you needed to find yourself, right? You needed to find who you are. You needed to go after the things that you want, the things that you dream about, or you need to at least figure out what that very thing is. But some things may have come about where it may have been extremely difficult, so you may have hidden away. You may have needed time to heal, and that time of healing was only done and could be done by yourself, for yourself. That's fair enough, right? But it can be dangerous to be here sometimes too, especially if stayed too long and for different reasons other than to find yourself, other than to heal yourself. There may have been a situation where there may have been an overstaying of this energy, and now when it comes to trying to manifest, or at least to really become alive again, to get that fire going, it's resisted because it's safe, because you can control the surroundings around you. You know that in your little world, nothing can happen unless you don't want it to. Well, unless anything can happen nothing can happen unless you want it to. Rather, what I just said, I had to play it back in my mind. I know what I was trying to say, but I just didn't say it right. Nothing can happen in your world unless you want it to. But does that make it? But do you grow from that? The Hermit card talks about growth, and the Hierophant is the challenge, is the obstacle. Staying within a box of conformity. Now, this is a card I wouldn't see necessarily upset for you, Taurus, because this is your card. But there's some things, there's some traditions, there's something here sometimes that keep us in the box, that keep us from being able to be our truest selves. This isn't necessarily to be in a box and to conform to just any old thing. Yes, it's traditions. Yes, it's customs. Yes, it's following policies and government and organizations and all that such. But the Hermit and the Hierophant here is talking about one thing only: is committing to the self, committing to what you believe is correct for you, and abiding by those traditions of the self. The priest doesn't abide by the church because it's the church. He believes in God. He believes in the higher, in the higher power. But he believes that his abilities are attached to that, so therefore he commits to himself. It's a very interesting way of looking at it, but it is the case. So if there's a thing that needs to change about the way things have been for you, then it's okay, because that is something that it goes against what you believe. It goes against yourself. As you have to commit to the new self. You have to commit to the new you. This Hermit energy, when he comes out, he's a fresh new individual, ready to start something new. What's after the Hermit, y'all? The Wheel of Fortune. That's a new beginning with a perspective now. Not with a perspective, but another opportunity and another shot at something that you thought, that not necessarily that you thought was gone, but more so that you have another opportunity to use what you know now. Right? Which is showing you that situations are not failures. Situations are ways or different things, opportunities to see something differently, so you have the opportunity later to utilize it, like the Hermit card at this moment. So the Hierophant here is really talking about committing to the self, committing to you, committing to what you believe in. Not necessarily conform, don't get conformed, or don't feel like you have to conform to things that you don't agree with anymore. Even if this is, with family, even if this is with your own beliefs, if this is with your own your truths, your own customs, whatever, like your own personal stuff. But most importantly, this probably has to do with, like I said, like what things, routines that you have, that you have set due to past situations where you felt like you weren't powerful, where you felt like where you couldn't take control. Because in the past, you have the Chariot. You did take control. You did take, you did hold on to the Sphinx. You did, balance situations out. You got victory through that. You've grown so much. You made progress. The Chariot talks about progress too, just as much as it talks about willpower. And I feel like you guys had the helm, and you guys really rode that Chariot to the best that it can. Probably rode it till the wheels fell off. That's why this is a situation coming up now, because perhaps you're trying to ride a chariot that no longer functions as a chariot. It's not even usable now. Perhaps this is just like the thing. The thing is that perhaps even more so than ever, that you're in this place now, like where the Hermit energy, when you've retracted, you've learned a new self, you've healed yourself, you're aware of some things now that you are not aware of before, but the old way is not working for you. And sometimes it could be that you may be trying to do the old thing and trying to, do the old same old thing, because this is something that you know very well, and has been your identity potentially for some time. Right? That's just been you. That's been your routine. And the reason why I even thought about identity with this, because the Hierophant isn't necessarily about identity, but this is your card. The Hierophant is Taurus. So perhaps this is just what you're known for, is just doing things a certain way. But what if you don't agree with those things anymore? And I feel like that's what your thing is. Your dilemma is that you want to do something totally different, but you not necessarily that you don't know how, but perhaps this is, it's hard to leave the old things behind, because there was reasons behind the ways that you did things. The reasons why you had certain, beliefs, or certain ways of doing things. You had beliefs in that. And you're breaking those chains free. You're breaking free from the chains that have been holding you, that really didn't benefit you. And I feel like that's why this is, death is here, because it's saying, like, let us take what doesn't serve you now, so you can be free. Now, your present is the Three of Cups. Wow. Three of Cups, y'all. So this is talking about friends, family, close-knit groups, people surrounding you, people that you love, people that love you. But this is, the Three of Cups is a very platonic energy, and it usually talks about celebration. Now, for some of you guys, you may have gotten to a higher place of commitment with another person, or you guys are celebrating something with someone, right? This victory that you've gained here. Like, obviously, this is a very victorious card, so why wouldn't you celebrate? This is a very joyous time for you, and I completely would understand. Definitely celebrate. You went through your sister sign here, Virgo, and now you're in Virgo season, Libra season, where there's more parties, there's more fun, there's more enjoyment. But unfortunately, with what happens on the 5th of October, we're all going to be taking a whole look at what's enjoyable to us, really, what's actually enjoyable to us. So the Three of Cups is wonderful and all, and it talks about celebration, which is totally acceptable and totally understandable, considering what you guys have gone through and what you guys push to do it now. But I feel like this may not be necessarily something that you enjoy. I think that it's been a hard time coming, but I feel like at the same time, maybe this whole thing with the Hermit and the Hierophant and Death even now, it's like you're questioning whether or not this is something that you actually want to celebrate now. I feel like you're recognizing or trying to see where you gain support from as well. Who do you really trust, or who can you really lean on? But the situation here, where it leads, is the world. So there's a new beginning coming in. There's something new that's starting eventually. But the world really talks about a completion of a cycle. But the thing that's holding this world back right now, the obstacle that's keeping the world forward, I'm going to say, is the Hierophant. Not saying it's you, it's what is keeping you in the box. I feel like these people that you are surrounding yourself with, they're wonderful people, nothing wrong about them, but they may be influencing to stay within the kids, the same old, same old. Maybe there's something that there are people around you right now that they want your best interest at heart, but through their own beliefs, their own structure, their own ways of doing things, and how they know you by, which is your own routines. If these people truly, support you, they will support your changing. They will support your shift in what your priorities are and what you feel needs to shift in your day-to-day life, and what will need to shift in your life altogether. This is a true test of loyalty, I feel, at the same time. But your goal, aim, ambition, you're ready. You want this change, but at the same time, it's scary, of course. Nobody wants this kind of, radical change necessarily. But then but then we do at the same time. We could be afraid of it, but then also wanting it more than anything. And your goal and ambition is saying the tower, changing of the foundation. The Hierophant is the foundation. He is what keeps this place stable. Even though it's a 5 it's a 5. He is surrounded by walls. He's surrounded. He's in a church, for crying out loud. It's not the stablest place to be, where you can definitely guarantee that you have, people around you that are of love, and they have their own structures and whatever. This is stable, the Hierophant. But it's meant to change because of the 5 there. When we have the Hierophant here, it's not just necessarily, stability, because stability comes from the confirmation or the commitment aspect of it, but more so, right? Like 5s are changes anyway. But it's meant to change what change the situation to commit to it. It's very weird. It's very weird. It's like the change is initiated already here. The Hierophant does not change. So what do you need to change to yourself and commit to that change in yourself? What is your religion? What is your belief? What is your structure? What do you believe in? What can you commit to? What is just stable within yourself that may not be acceptable to society, to the people that you know around you, friends, family, people that know you? What do you think is truly you that other people can't commit to, but you can? That's why this foundation change and craziness is happening here. It's not necessarily craziness to turn it down. It's craziness, but in a great way. I love craziness. I love it because it brings out the true essence of a person. That's why I love my Gemini moon. I do. Because even though I'll be all serious and, kind of all proper women, and I act all ratchet and crazy the next, it's because I'm being true to who I am. We all have crazy parts of ourselves, Taurus, and I feel like you're finding you're crazy, and that's great. Not saying that you guys are acting crazy and this is what you need, structure and stuff. Not at all. I feel like it's time to tap into that you, the you that has different emotions, that have different feelings, that doesn't necessarily commit to a life that doesn't necessarily remind them of themselves or make them feel good about themselves anymore. That's, why I'm saying all this as well, that you may have a situation where you're celebrating is all great and all, but you're not sure because of the 9 of Wands. Yes, the 9 of Wands, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're beat down, and you're defensive. You have your walls up surrounding the people around you. And the fact that the Hermit's there is already telling me that, yeah, there may be a time of celebration, people around you, but there may be some people that at the same time, you may not be enjoying it because you're not really connecting with the people here. Something is ringing true to you is that maybe the thing that you're blocking off is something that you may not want anymore. The 9 of Wands talks about not giving up, though. It talks about it talks about remembering what you started, because the 9 of Wands, you go from the Ace of Wands, knowing what your passions are, all the way to the 9, where you put in all that work, all that effort. In the beginning, you know you wanted it, but now you're trying to block it off, fend it off. But you remember what you fight for. That's why you're not leaving, because you know, like, hey, wait a minute, I'm here because I wanted a certain goal, I wanted a certain aspect. And I feel like you do want something here. You do probably want to be, to commit to something. You do want to feel a part of something. But the thing is, it's like you don't like what it became, probably. Probably that's why you're blocking it off. You're looking at it and you're like, that's what I wanted, but I don't know if that's necessarily how I wanted it. So yeah, you're tired and exhausted. You put in all that work to just figure out or see something from a different perspective. You're feeling the exhaustion rather than rather than feeling the enjoyment. So your outcome is the Two of Pentacles. Keep it a balance. But it's also making decisions. This is Two of Pentacles we're talking about here. All right, practical decisions, but one where your emotions are quite involved. Because not looking at how you feel isn't going to help you make the decisions to commit to yourself in your new life, in your new journey, in your new situation. That's why the world is coming up too, because you're walking towards a situation where you can begin a new cycle. But you have to complete the cycle out first. What information, what can you take from this that you can utilize later? Well, being true to yourself is very important, but it has to be done by releasing the things that don't resonate with you anymore. The Magician, their bonus card here. Your bonus card. You have the power to control the world that you're in, even if it's outside of the realm of the Hermit. Even if it's outside of your comfort zone, outside of this place of safety, outside of this spiritual world that only you can truly tap into when you need it the most. You have the abilities to manifest the things that you want. Whether it be peace and happiness, whether it is a relationship with someone, whether this is the best job in the world. You could do that, but how you do that is is the important part. Not so that if you can, but because it's very well established that you can here. The Magician is here. You have to believe that you can. With the Hermit here, I believe that you know that you can, but it's about the execution of it now. Being brave and taking the helm and going after that. And I know the Strength card isn't here to really talk about bravery, but the Death card, you do need bravery for that. It's difficult energy to go through.